It's obviously not been all roses or all gladioli for you,
really.
your life.
No.
Alcoholism, psychotherapy, 4 marriages, you know, a hard road in many ways. Why was it so difficult?
Well, I don't think any road, any life is easy. I think we all have difficulties, we all have problems. I had a strange illness for a number of years of my life, spreading really over 15 years of my life, which I didn't understand until the end. And I think illnesses of addiction are like that. They're very insidious, they develop very slowly, and the sufferer is always the last person to know. Writing about experiences of this kind, I worked through all of this.
Is the autobiography part of that experience, part of that catharsis, or not?
Yes, I hesitated to use that word, but you've said it.
What would you have used?
It's late night and it's an intelligent audience. Scrabble players could be watching.
Well, escape then, or release?
But yes, I think so. I really enjoyed going over my life, describing key events, and in a way, trying to write as compassionately and truthfully about myself and those close to me as I could. Clearly, there are areas where one prefers to remain circumspect.
Do you think you're gentle on yourself in the book, or harsh on yourself?
No, I think I'm actually rather harsh on myself.
I think you're quite harsh. I mean, I was going to ask you whether you think people will read this book and like you.
I think if I set out to be liked in writing this book, it would be yet another one of those actors' autobiographies. Now, because I've been a soloist for so long, I don't meet too many members of my profession. Sometimes I'm in a film or a television play, very rarely. And then I love the opportunity of meeting fellow actors and actresses. But when I look at their memoirs, they tend to be self-serving, sentimental, and pathetically in search of approval. I don't seek that. I prefer to be taken as you find me. My personality is not the personality you see now. This is what I'm like before I put on the mask and become one of my stage characters. My function is that of a comedian. I found early on I had the gift of making people laugh, and it's a very, very nice job. I do enjoy my life very much. I consider myself still privileged and spoilt. I was a spoilt child, and I think I'm a rather spoilt adult.
Just getting back to, I mean, I won't pursue the things that journalists with no humour pursue, at least not with too much vigour.
Right. Please.
Is there any, do you have any guilt of any at all about the image that you sell of Australia to the rest of the world? Or do you...
Well, why should I? What image do I sell of Australia?
Well, I think of Celez in particular.
In particular?
From my...
Just Celez, you mean?
I suppose Edna as well, but more Celez.
Yes.
And I suppose also Barry Mackenzie, but he's not so recently known mine. But Celez is a truly wonderful character, and I would have thought...
I don't feel any guilt at all about Celez. He's an extremely nice man, you know. He drinks a little too much, and he needs some fairly radical dentistry. But he's a man of goodwill.
But is
as he says himself, his heart is in the right place, and so are all his other organs.
Is he a typical Australian?
No, of course he's not. Who is a typical Australian? But compared with the average Australian politician, he's perhaps just a bit too intelligent to be an average Australian politician.
What do you say to Philip Adams' characterization of you or your characters as an archive, as something that dates you, that has dated?
I think it's possibly true, yes. I am definitely a product of my period and the place I come from. You know, I'm a regional comedian. And my jokes are about Melbourne, are about really a section of Melbourne. And you could go on archaeological digs there forever and still come up with wonderful things. But I think that some of the writers and artists that interest me most wrote best about some small place. Trollope's Barchester, you know, Hardy's Dorset, Yeats's Ireland. My Mooney Ponds and Camberwell, if you like.
Do you see any way in which life is now imitating art with Sylvania Waters? Another housewife superstar?
It looks to me as though actors are no longer going to be necessary. Now this new genre, which I can only describe as a soapumentary, has been devised. I watched those programs. I was given the tapes of them soon after I stepped off the aircraft. And I sat up with jet lag at 3 a.m. and I watched all of Sylvania Waters. I know it back to front. I'm now watching it again. It is compulsive. It is deeply disturbing. It should go into a time capsule. And the alarming thing is that I should think, come the Republic, Nolene will be on the stamps.
So what message would you send to Nolene, the celebrated Nolene? Perhaps from Edna.
I think
Edna, from one superstar to another.
Edna will be sending her a message and probably tactfully advising her on her wardrobe, details of etiquette. It could be that Edna will be, when she retires, only too happy to pass her gladiolus on into the eager grasp of Nolene.
Thank you very much. Barry Humphries, an autobiography, more please, on sale in your bookshops, I'm sure. Thank you. And now let's take a look at what's making headlines in tomorrow morning's newspapers.